Denver Broncos Mile High View, no commercials, no bullshit. We've been away for a while taking care of our own business outside the Broncos. We're kind of in checkout mode too. Uh, but we're going to discuss the Raiders game a little bit. I think this is two teams that are basically checked out because there's no playoff implications. It's basically let's get it over with, get the season over with, and be with our families or whatever. That both teams. I don't think much is really going to come out of this. I will not be able to record this game, so I can't do later highlights. I have footage from the Buffalo game and of the Charger game, and later on we'll break footage down of that after the season just to discuss it a little bit. Excuse me. So one thing I want to talk about is Blake Bortles couldn't get out of Elway's evil clutches fast enough. He's re-signed by the Rams. So your take on that?
My take on that is I don't know if Blake Bortles is going to be re-signed because Elway has a thing for Bortles, apparently. I've never been a big fan of Blake Bortles. I think that he is an average at best quarterback. I think he's a backup in this league, not a starter. He's a good serviceable backup, like a Ryan Fitzpatrick type, who can play a few games for you, maybe, do a few things. But the main reason I believe that Blake Bortles was still around was because you were the first person to bring it up, that they were trying to have a quarterback controversy going into the offseason. Now that's failed, and I'm happy for Blake Bortles because he's going to be going to a real organization in the Los Angeles Rams who will know how to utilize him correctly, unlike the Broncos. And so I can't be more happier for Blake Bortles. I'm happier for him more than anything because Elway is an idiot, and for him to keep Blake Bortles around is just an indictment on how he doesn't know how to develop and know quarterbacks at that position, and he played quarterback. So,
well, clearly there was a discussion between Bortles and Elway about his future.
Absolutely.
So how does that, because there's a bigger picture here than Blake Bortles. It's just, he's a chess piece. Mm-hmm. How does this translate then with moving forward with Drew Lock and bringing in another washed up, or has been, how Elway likes to do?
I think what will happen, what will translate out of this, what will come out of this is that I think that you're going to go when we go into the offseason. I think that Elway's going to go after a veteran quarterback. I think that he's going to go after three to four players that I have in mind. And this is from all the reports I've been seeing and listening to while I'm at work. Gardner Minshew, who I'm not a big fan of, Andy Dalton, Marcus Mariota, or Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think those are going to be the four guys that we have to keep an eye on that Elway will go after. I think the one person that he will go after is Gardner Minshew. I think that he has, what I get out of Elway when he goes after quarterbacks, and a lot of people don't get it, you probably do, he goes after the hot name. And I think Gardner Minshew is a hot name because he had all that celebrity status last year with the Jaguars, with the, Gardner Minshew, West Bay boy, mustache guy. It's just the typical, clown show every week. I think that Gardner Minshew is a guy that he'll bring in because, it'll bring headlines and, clown news and stuff like that. That's what I'll get because Elway likes to go after the big thing, exactly, with his microscope.
Or microscope / telescope.
Exactly.
There's Shimon.
Ooh, Gardner Minshew.
See how Gardner Minshew is straight ahead. Well, I was a victim of that too. I'll get into that later, being myopic and names and all that. But that's something else. I want to say something that I think there is a chance that Elway will not bring a quarterback in based on his own ego. That he's going to stick with Locke like well, Jesus, the quarterback that failed that he got. Lynch, thank you. I mean, there's so many quarterbacks I can't keep them all straight in my head.
Exactly. Graveyard.
Exactly. I'm like, well, which one was that one? Exactly. Lynch. That he's got the Lynch thing going. Maybe Locke has done enough to say, look, if I give him no, not just Lynch, but Garrett Bowles too. Mm-hmm. If I just give him the attention, this is my draft pick. This is my guy, right? If I just do like Bowles and Lynch and these kind of things, and not worry about the quarterback, which would really be the smartest thing for him to do. But it wouldn't be he wouldn't be doing that because it's smart.
No,
he'd be doing it because of ego.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference. I mean, it'd be the best thing to do would be just building this team up. And I think that what we're going to get in this offseason is discussing the fact that we can't talk about the draft right away. We have to first talk about cleaning house at the Denver Broncos.
Yes.
Some people would like to see Drew Lock be a part of that, but I'm talking about some of these has-beens that has been brought in, and then some. Some people that are coveted by feel-good fans, where we could do better. Now I was a victim of not listening to myself, and I got really myopic looking at names. Oh, bring in the name. There was a defensive lineman you brought up, and I didn't realize the guy was, he's a name. That's probably part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But you said that this individual brings with him a lot of clown show baggage.
Yes.
And in that sense, yes, that would be a perfect Elway hire. And what you're saying is, and I agree with this, is that what the Denver Broncos really could use in the name of good GM, GM-ship, is bringing in up-and-comers like we wanted last year. People who are on their way up, not has-been names and clown shows. So you want to tell them who that defensive lineman was?
There's two.
I was getting myopic with.
Oh, okay. Yannick Ngakoue. Now, I want to say this about your point. I think that you were on the right path. Just the character issues and the clown baggage that he brings has me concerned. I think that he's a really good player. I really do. I think Yannick Ngakoue is a really good player, pass rusher type. But like I said when we were texting back and forth this past week, I think that he brings a lot of baggage with him that I don't want. Yeah, I could see Elway trying to go after paying top-notch money to $20 million a year. But there's two guys that defensive linemen that I brought up to you, and I don't know if you looked into them at all, but Solomon Thomas from the 49ers, I think that he's a very good player.
Up and coming,
former first-round pick for the 49ers. He is a free agent. And then another guy, Leonard Williams, who plays for the New York Giants.
Yeah.
Those two players I'm looking at that I think would fit, who will replace Jarrell Casey. And for all the people that are trying to put Draymond Jones as a breakout candidate, I haven't seen anything this year when Draymond Jones was given the chance for me to have confidence going into 2020, or we're already in 2021, going into this next season. That gives me confidence that he could be a very good player. I get it. He's a young player. He has a lot to, learn and stuff, but he's very undersized at his position. And he reminds me so much of DeMarcus Walker in that fact that he's very undersized and he can be pushed back. I want a guy that does not get pushed back, and I want a guy that can push the pocket. And Jarrell Casey and Draymond Jones cannot do any of those things.
This is what I find really sad about the state of the Bronco fans. All year long, I did what I set out to do, and that was provide tape.
Yes.
And for every once in a while quarterback pressure, can show, more like 95% clean pockets for quarterbacks. And no matter how much video I show, especially what I really find interesting, the offensive line was glaringly bad. Every week I showed how it was just a turnstile of defenders coming at quarterbacks. And yet, we can show tape to people, and there's still this, I guess, myopic, this thinking that what we have is somehow, it's somehow acceptable, I guess. We know that right across the board, we need upgrades on that line. We also know that Hot Tub Time Machine is not going to be there for the full season. Maybe he makes a cameo appearance. We don't know. That's even still up in the air. So everybody says we can't get rid because John Elway is dumb enough to really tie it's like he tied a bowling ball or a cannonball to his leg and threw it overboard.
I would say the same thing about Graham Glasgow as well.
Oh yeah, no, Glasgow. He should have never been hired for the money. It should have been a 1-year deal
or 2-year deal.
That's
reasonable.
I thought 1 year.
But then you have Nate Moody, who. Sorry, go ahead. You have Nate Moody, who is an up and coming player who played well when he was inserted into the lineup. So you have an up and coming player in your hand tied to a 4-year contract that is just absolutely ridiculous. Go ahead.
Well, you're right. And what people don't realize how these contract works, because you always hear that people saying, I don't know why they keep playing this guy. Well, it's in their contract. They get so much playing time guaranteed with, if I'm going to sign the dot, not only do I want the money, but I want the playing time, because if I get the playing time, if something happens, I can go somewhere else. I can show all the, although I wouldn't want to show if I was, what's his face on the offensive line, I wouldn't want to show my tape. I mean,
Juwan James?
No, Glasgow.
Oh, Glasgow.
Well, there's no tape. There is no tape for Juwan James. Nobody wanted Juwan James. Nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
But I see the hot tub right there. Captain Elway, in his sinking ship.
I want to go off of your point about the fans and, how disappointing, okay. So when it comes to what you promised and what you did was provide film to these people to help them understand what we were seeing and what fans that have been coming to our channel and who have actually been agreeing with us have seen. Yet there's still the fans out there, the feel-good fans, that want to ignore all that. They're tied to Elway. They don't want Elway gone, which it's coming faster than you think. Next year is bye Elway. Thank you for tearing down this franchise. Let's bring in some real football minds here.
Yeah.
And, I will always bring this up. Me and you don't get paid to do this. We don't have sponsors. We don't ask people to subscribe. We thank you for the subscribe. But we both, I have a very stressful job as it is, and I can barely do this. He can barely do this because he has stuff to do with his, personal life. So just because we're coming up here, bashing the Broncos, it's not because we like bashing the Broncos, but it needs to be said. we can't sit up here and give you feel good shit, and we're not going to feed you the same old bullshit like the feel good fans and sports talk radio does. Oh, Casey, Bouye.
God, they got to go.
I think Casey's going to be gone. I think Casey's going to be gone, but I think Bouye is going to stay.
Yeah, well, I think Jackson and Bouye need to go because I gave you a couple of names.
Yeah,
I gave you a couple of names, but they're up and coming. Mm-hmm. They're I think better fit for less money.
Why don't you bring up those names?
Well, no. Well, I think we'll talk about this.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just save that. We're supposed to talk about the right now this last game, which me and you both say is basically a checkout.
Exactly. Yep.
Both two teams have checked out. Let's get it over with. Let's just get the season over and get back to get done with it and pick up our paychecks. You know.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think what you're going to see this Sunday, I think you're going to see two teams that are checked out. I think it'll be the same exact game like you saw in the Chargers. I think it's going to be a similar game like that. I think the Raiders will be able to put up more points because their offense is more potent than the Chargers. They have the Raiders have a better offensive line than the Broncos. They knew how to build that correctly. Derek Carr, Derek Carr's Derek Carr. He's a mediocre guy. But when you talk about this game, there are two things that could ruin the Broncos, and I can see Elway just saying we need to win this game. One, you're going to lose draft position, and I want to stick where we're at because I don't want to go to 15 or 16 because if you win this game, you have that chance of moving up 5-6 spots than where you're at. I'm not, like you said, the draft is ramen noodles, whatever, noodle soup or whatever you're saying. I know it, but I don't want to be in that 15, 16 spot, but I could see it happening. I'd rather, stay where we're at, hopefully, a good player falls, a good offensive lineman or good defensive lineman or linebacker falls to us, and we can take that player and just start running. But we can't talk about the draft. But I'm just saying there's still some implications that could set this team back, like Elway has done. But I don't know. This game is probably just going to be another one of those. Wow, if the Broncos win, we beat an 8-8 team. We're so good. Like I said in the last pregame or postgame video. So.
Well, I just see two teams checked out. I mean,
exactly.
What do they have to play for except going home, picking up a paycheck? Better luck next year, So the draft, to me, good organizations don't need to be fifth seed in the draft. I mean, they bring in great players at 15 or 16 or 7. That's what they do, They know what they want and they know what they need and they know who they can develop because their starters are there. That's their team. They're bringing in guys that we'll see if they work out. We can mature these guys to play the kind of football we want. Some are going to fall off, but then we're going to get the diamonds in the rough because we have a good organization and they can learn from our starters.
And can I bring this up? The whole that John Elway's gone better with his drafts. No, I haven't seen any evidence that has been the case.
Well, wait a minute. Well, it's how your perception of that is. You got better because your team was so bad you got high draft picks.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, then we have Judy to look at. Who it's now a question mark whether that was a great pick. You said yourself, our running back,
Freeman.
Hamilton, then Freeman, Hamilton, Draymond Jones. These are
Jewell.
Josie Jewell.
Can I? No. Okay. To just clear up my point about that whole thing that you just said about he was so bad that we got it. I'm talking about what makes you a good GM. It's not your first round, not your second round. It's what you do in the later rounds. That's how I judge off of a general manager. I don't judge off of a general manager because the first round pick. You're going to get a good player regardless in the first and second round. Maybe. But not like you said, ramen noodle soup. But I judge a GM off of what you're doing in the later rounds. Now, there was a guy named Adam Peters, okay? And I know not a lot of people know about him, but he got Malik Jackson and Danny Trevathan. He got Malik Jackson in the 5th round. He got Danny Trevathan in the 7th round. See, that's how I judge off of a good GM, is that what you do in the later rounds and what you do in the offseason. We can't just skip to the draft, but what you're doing in the offseason. And the offseason moves that Elway has made over the past 7-8 years have been awful. Have been awful.
Well, I think an additional problem to this draft equation, we have Shermer running offense, okay? That's a problem. With the scouting for the Denver Broncos is all over the place. It's like, who are we scouting for? Well, what's the system we're scouting for? Last year it was one. The year before that was somebody else.
Yep.
And now you got players that fit different systems or whatever. So that's, again, a losing – that's how that defines a losing organization.
It's a
The
losing mentality.
coaching carousel, you retain. I believe they pretty much retain their scouts, but who are they scout? Who are the scouts scouting for? This coach, that coach, the other coach. I mean, Elway's has been as bad as Shanahan. Remember Shanahan and his army of defensive coordinators that come up, down, up, down, up, down. That's what he's done with offensive coordinators. So now you're stuck with Shermer. So I guess in a way there's a silver lining that you're not going to be now. I'm assuming he's going to keep Shermer around.
No, he is. They said it. They confirmed it. Shermer and Fangio are back.
Well, we knew that Fangio was going to be here. The feel-good fans, they don't know what they're talking about. They want to say fire Fangio. We know that whether they're right or wrong, it comes down to Elway's ego. Elway's ego reigns.
But to piggyback off your point real quick, this isn't going to matter next year or the year after. So we have to bring ourselves back down to be like, this isn't going to matter a year from now, 2 years from now. I mean, none of these coaches will be here. Half of these players that are on this roster won't be here.
Scouting department will be gone.
Yeah, it's all going to be rooted up, like you've said thousands of times this year.
Well, the NFL is going to have to step in and deal with ownership of this team. This team needs an owner. And, the trust. Now, the trust is not going to agree on Brittany Bowl, and that's just not going to happen. And Sports Talk Radio says it has to happen, but it's already written, and even the trust themselves have to admit, Pat Bowlen's the way he set it up is everybody has to be in agreement. That's the bottom line. Brittany can't stomp her heels and demand that she gets the team. Her mother, same thing. The NFL is going to say. Well, the NFL's already agitated with multiple owners, and that's one thing that may keep Peyton Manning from ever owning a team. They do not like the multiple owners. Tennessee Titan. They were very happy to see the Carolina Panthers be taken over by a single owner. That's the direction they do not want
multiple owners.
Yeah. And I don't want Puff Daddy, as an owner for the Broncos. So, I mean, I want somebody that is Pat Bowlen-like. Obviously don't want Snyder.
No.
But
although I think Snyder has done a very good job with Ron Rivera, hiring him and letting him, do his thing.
You think Snyder finally, after decades?
I think that he's finally just taken a step back. They released Dwayne Haskins, who I never thought was a first-round pick, who is a head case.
Wait a minute. He could come here to the Broncos.
Yeah. Elway liked him. They went to his pro day.
Not Josh Allen. We'll go there.
No, not Josh Allen. But they got Ronald Darby there, who's a free agent, by the way.
Who wanted? Yeah. Who wanted him? Who wanted him?
God.
We get stuck with Bouye. Well, again, could you even get him over here? I mean, does he really want?
I think he'll go back to Washington. Well, yeah. No. All I just want this offseason is just up and coming players. I don't want veteran has-beens. I don't want that. Just Elway. Please, dude, stop with your stupid ass ego and go after the likes of the players that I've suggested, that you have suggested, and just do it the right way for once. This is your last rodeo here. How about you do it freaking right? Go out guns and blazing, because I want up and coming players on this team, and I don't want Josie Jewell starting next year. I don't want Alexander Johnson starting next year. I think one of them will because of Elway's ego. And I've been hearing all this from STR this week, how Josie Jewell and Alexander Johnson aren't the problem in the middle of the field. Can I just
say? Yeah. It gets exploited week in and week out, but don't look at that because Elway says these are my crown jewels.
These are the guys that I've been, stop. STR, stop. You're making yourself look really fucking stupid with your stupid fucking takes and your bullshit takes.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Alexander Johnson and Josie Jewell are not starting level caliber NFL linebackers.
No.
If you are putting them in the same realm as even the Raiders and the Bills, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, they didn't want to look at Bill's tape. They didn't want to look what real linebacking is. Put in tapes of the former Broncos. Super Bowl 50. Take a look at the Orange Crush. Then put the Jewell and Johnson's tape side by side. They don't want to do that.
They could even hold Tom Jackson or Randy Gradishar's jockstrap.
Oh no,
so
of course
I don't want to hear it.
No.
I don't. All you feel good fans that weren't, go back and watch highlights of the Orange Crush defense. You could. It was just, oh my gosh, dude,
off the chain.
I've seen it exactly.
Off the chain.
Exactly. Yeah. They knew how to linebacking. Besides the Steelers back in the day, they were the second best linebacking core in the National Football League behind the steel curtain. Randy Gradishar was on the level of the Steelers. Okay, he would have been a Hall of Famer if he played for the Steelers. He would have been a Hall of Famer if he played for the Steelers. We all know this.
Yeah, unfortunately, Craig Morton was basically injury. Playing injured though. They didn't have the offensive player personnel to. And then of course, it was Ralston that brought all them in. Yeah. And unfortunately, the players who regretted it later didn't stick with Ralston one more year, and they all regretted that. That actually came out in Tom Landry's autobiography, but that's another story altogether. Yeah, anyway,
going back, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. It's fine.
But going back to this game, I just want to see Drew Lock just, continue to progress a little bit. I love Lock. I'm a Drew Lock supporter. He needs to get better. I recognize that. I'm not going to continue to sit up here and defend the guy if he's continuing to throw interceptions in an idiotic way. He needs to get better at that. I think this offseason he needs to work on footwork, and he needs to work on the mental side of it. I think that the ability is there. I just think that he needs to take the next step. Now I'm not going to make it all about the quarterback because I think that one thing that we also have to bring up here is these receivers, they better step it up next year because they need to catch those balls that Locke is putting on the money that people don't like to bring up.
Because, well, Judy's turned into a clown show.
I think that Judy's become the next Terrell Owens. I think that, which I brought up, 5-6 weeks ago, I said, watch out for this kid that nobody wants to get, that nobody will talk about, how he's so much of a freaking head case that if he doesn't get his touches, he'll go on social media and complain like a little shit.
Well, I mean, if I was to sit down with Judge Judy there, I would say that you need to take a look at this guy named Jerry Rice or Rod
Haven Moses.
Or Haven Moses. And keep your mouth shut. Shut your freaking mouth, okay?
You are getting paid thousands of dollars to do this. I'm not getting paid half the money you are doing a better job doing a much. I'm going off topic. Sorry.
So what Jerry Rice would do, he would come in early in the morning and work. And at night, he'd be there late at work and work. Judy, if you even had half that, if you understand, what deal you're not in college anymore, okay?
This is the big boys.
Yeah. You're looking like a clown. And I mean, was really surprised. The Bills fans came out and said, that may be your biggest regret was that number one pick.
Can I say something? When we drafted Jerry Jeudy, and I didn't start this channel till after that, but once we drafted Jerry, I hated the pick. You know why? Because we had other needs at other important positions than just receiver. Okay, well, and you drafted two, and Hamler looks like he's better. I have more trust in Hamler because it looks like he's actually putting in the work.
Yeah.
I actually am more impressed with Hamler than I am Jeudy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I actually like Hamler's mindset. He's not a diva.
What is that? What does that address? That address what we were talking about. Later draft picks working out. Okay. later draft picks, but with yes. But do you realize that Elway's draft last year was classic Al Davis? Classic Al Davis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the go vertical, get receivers, we got a stable of receivers. Get vertical, you know. This
Go
is
corner.
just,
I mean, it was just until with Elway. Same with Al Davis. He would go with corners early in the draft. He got Michael Ojemudia. He would not address the inside of the defense, or he waited till the fourth and fifth, or third and his second, third round pick, and to finally get some defense and offensive alignment. I mean, and look, Cushenberry has struggled this year. McTelvin Ajim. I mean, where's he been? I mean, you spent a fourth and fifth round pick on this guy. It was a fourth or fifth round pick on McTelvin Ajim, and he's been absent.
This team is not going to. This team is not going to be real if even remotely next year.
No.
If Elway doesn't address the inside.
You know what?
In a big way.
I think what we have to. I think that this team is going to be the same team as this past year. I think it's going to be the same old shit. You're going to have an article coming out every week how the players have given up on Fangio. It's going to be the same old shit.
Yeah.
And Elway this offseason will go after names that make no fucking sense. He won't address the offense and defensive line. If he does, it'll be a big name.
Linebacking.
He won't. No, I honestly think that he's content with Josie Jewell and Alexander Johnson at inside linebacker. I really do.
Yeah.
And it'll expose us once we face the bigger teams that will eat us alive. I mean,
no, you can't show enough tape. Yeah, I mean, Sports Talk Radio, they talk. Yeah, they talk, but I've showed you tape.
They talk a big game, but they don't show you the tape.
But when we get to the Bills, maybe we'll highlight Bills secondary, or excuse me, linebacking versus the clown show that Josie Jewell and Alexander Johnson really are.
Can I just bring up this point really quick about the Charger game last week? If you were watching the Charger game, Adam Archuleta, the broadcaster, and his buddy brought up how Josie Jewell was out of position. They showed it on the freaking broadcast.
I've got
That's
that.
what we've been saying this whole year. That's what me and you have been saying this whole year. Is he's always out of position because he doesn't have the ability, the pass coverage ability. He doesn't have the sideline to sideline instinct. It's the same thing with Alexander Johnson. They're always out of position because they don't know their assignment.
Well, Bronco fans in the know, the smart Bronco fans, they call him Slowsy Jewell. They call him Slowsy Jewell. The smart fans, the Denver Bronco fans that have their brains in order.
I think that Alexander Johnson is a taller version of Todd Davis.
Yeah.
I think that he's just a taller version of Todd Davis. And the people that were comparing him to Al Wilson, are you freaking kidding me?
Man.
How the hell is Alexander Johnson and Al Wilson? Oh, because they went to Tennessee? That has no relevancy to your argument. What? Yeah. Show me the tape of Al Wilson actually covering people. Okay, Al Wilson was the last great linebacker that we had in Denver, besides Danny Trevathan. Those two were the last great linebackers that walked into Denver. Al Wilson, dude, Alexander Johnson can't even hold. You think that Alexander Johnson cannot hold Al Wilson's jock strap?
No, they're exploited. Yeah, the good teams that the Denver Broncos play, and it's a good thing that Broncos did have the schedule they had, unlike the crybabies, because you get to really see where the Broncos are on a weekly basis. But they want to deny, and Sports Talk Radio helps them with that.
Oh, Shelby Harris, we're not going to focus on everybody else, but Shelby Harris, we got to pay $15 million a year, who's going to be 30 years old.
Yeah, that makes no sense at all. That just makes.
I think we've seen Shelby Harris's last game in Denver. I'm done. Okay, I'm not saying that Shelby Harris isn't a bad player. I'm saying that he for the future, let him go to a contender, and let him ride out his last years there.
Yeah.
Okay, same with Von Miller, please. Just get him out of here. I love Von Miller.
Well, Von Miller doesn't want to. He won't want to play for Elway. He will play for Elway, but he says you pay me this.
He's making $22 million this year.
That's what he's going to ask for. He's going to ask
He's
for.
not going to take a pay cut. The people that say that he's going to take a Peyton Manning-esque pay cut, get out of here.
You know, he may work out well, like on a team like the Rams, maybe,
or the Chiefs,
or the Chiefs. Yeah,
I wouldn't be shocked if he goes to Kansas City.
Wouldn't that be a slap in the face?
Oh, I'd be. That will just take.
Well, think about this just for a second. Say Von Miller goes to Kansas City. Elway refuses to do anything with this offensive line.
Oh God!
I just wait for that disaster.
It's going to be a Khalil Mack-esque game against the Raiders in 2015, where he had 5 sacks. It's gonna be that bad.
Yeah, yeah. Because you thought that Hot Tub Time Machine was going to be your savior. You went and got Rubberman Glasgow. You refuse to play the guy that can actually play the position. Yeah. And we know that that's coming down with from Elway, the top.
Yep. And you had to pay top 5 left tackle money to Garrett Bowles, who has struggled for 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
But you guys don't bring it up.
Well, he didn't struggle. He had his man. So
can I just say something real quick before we end this? Can I just say this? The whole that Garrett Bowles hasn't been holding. They have called less holding penalties against linemen this year than they have any other year. Yeah. I've seen in the broadcast, I'm watching the film, I see Garrett Bowles clearly arm tackling a player. That'd be a flag. But they're not gonna do it because Garrett Bowles, we have to baby him. We have to baby Garrett Bowles.
Well, it's this whole NFL idea. I mean, I'm seeing holding by a lot of teams. But it's this whole. That's another topic we'll maybe do. Like what was the Bills game? I thought the officiating was horrific for both teams.
Yeah,
it was. I think that's a problem that the NFL has is officiating, but that's another topic. Well, I'm going to get going,
all right.
And we'll discuss at some point. We'll discuss this Raider game. The meaningless Raider game. Unless you want ramen noodles, top shelf versus lower shelf ramen noodles, so.
All righty.
Take care.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Take care. Happy New Year.
You too. Happy New Year.
Yeah.